Okay, we are live. It's worked. Oh my gosh, we have had so many issues with retrograde and not working. Honestly got worried for a second. As we're here, I'm Rebecca. I'm a KonMari master consultant, and I teach mindful decluttering over here on Substack. And my friend Amy from Highly Sensitive Parenthood is here with me today. She is new on Substack, so I'd love for everyone to welcome her into this cozy corner of the internet and just give her a follow as well while she is building out her page. She has an incredible podcast and so much content to share for any highly sensitive people and families out there. So Amy and I were talking about how productivity-based decluttering is everywhere and how it actually backfires in sensitive homes. And so when I said this to you, Amy, you're just like, oh my gosh, we need to talk about this.
It had just come up with multiple clients that week. So I was like, I think the stars are aligned on this one.
Yeah, 100%. And there's so many of these like productivity-based decluttering that we see, right? It's like, oh, declutter 10 things in 10 minutes or minimalism as optimization. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you, Amy, from your lens. Why is this so enticing for sensitive people in the first place?
Absolutely. Yeah. So thanks so much for the kind introduction. And hi, everybody. It's lovely to meet you. Um, so, why is it so enticing, this like productivity based, kind of like challenge based decluttering approach? I think partly for a lot of parents and especially sensitive parents, we're just craving answers. We're really deep processors. We are taking in a lot of information. And we kind of, some of us can be a little perfectionistic, right? We want to do things well. We want to have a home that reflects how we want to feel inside. And we also might have a little bit of perfectionism around parenthood and motherhood, and some desire for control. And there's nothing wrong with that inherently because there are studies that show that clutter increases cortisol for women, and women in particular. And so having a tidy ish, at least home, really does have a significant impact on our nervous system, and that structure can feel safe for us, and it can feel like we're providing something nice for our family. So there is this, like, I think, a real push, a real desire to create a decluttered home. And I think a lot of what's on offer are these productivity kind of challenge based approaches to decluttering. And so in some ways, I think maybe we just don't see anything different. And so that's what grabs us and that's what pulls us in.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that so much, especially in like the social media age as well, where there's like the Pinterest perfect or the comparison
Mhm.
traps as people are scrolling, feeling like that is what my home should look like. And like how you said about that perfectionism trap too, and that promise of like, oh, you'll finally feel better. And it also triggers that shame when we can't keep up. So, yeah, I'd love to hear from you too. What's actually happening in the nervous system when someone tries to push through like that, especially for someone who's an HSP.
Right. I think we can all, I mean, I can reflect right now on times where I have been like, oh, I need to do this thing, and I like feel tired or I feel low energy, but I really should do it. And so often when we hear that should, it is because we are overwhelmed with something. We might feel this like pressure to do it, but we might not feel resourced to move forward with it. And we'll talk a little bit more about kind of this ebb and flow dynamic later that sensitive nervous systems can work with. But yeah, in those moments when we really try to kind of push through and like challenge ourselves when that's not actually aligned, we can freeze and we can get into this loop of overwhelm and like pressure, like acting from a place of pressure and shame, like you just mentioned, rather than from a place of presence and I keep saying the word alignment, but that's what comes to mind here is right, like actually being present and wanting to do the thing that we're doing. So having our bodies and our hearts and minds all on the same page rather than having our bodies almost be this like zombie doing something that we think we should do, whereas our minds are just um, out to lunch somewhere else. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
100%. It's like because like I love the word alignment too, because it is like the disconnect is actually what causes so many of us to spiral into the negative self-talk,
Mhm.
and it becomes performative rather than really delving into the benefits of what it does for us. And yeah, like, what I'm hearing is like that clutter creates that shame. Shame creates freeze. And then by freezing, it creates more clutter. And it becomes this, vicious cycle.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, the good news is the vicious cycle. I use the phrase like upward spiral versus we think of the downward spiral, which like that dynamic you just named of this clutter creates shame. Shame creates the freeze creates more clutter, and down we go. We can always upward spiral, right? Like that same dynamic when interrupted um, can move us in the opposite direction. So when our shame is soothed, and that's the approach. Spoiler alert: that's the approach that we like to take. Is when our shame is soothed and addressed and kind of like looked at for what is actually going on with non-judgment, our system can unfreeze.
Mhm.
We can become more regulated. And action kind of opens up. It feels more natural. It flows from us rather than being like pulled out of us,
Yeah.
and thereafter we can become more regulated and our as we declutter or as we attend to our home and our space and our environment, our nervous system follows suit, and there's that upward spiral that we're all aiming for.
Yeah. And I'm sure like this is actually, why this came up is because um yeah, I'm always so curious because especially since you see this in your a lot of in your therapy work with as well with your clients too. I think it's so easy to overlook how much our environment has a direct impact on our nervous system. And I'm always asking my therapist friends, I'm like, do you ever ask your clients about what their home is like? Because they might be
Yeah.
doing work, the talk therapy, but like if we don't know what their actual home environment is like, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting that this is not something you and I've talked about before, but have a history of doing ecotherapy work as well. So, nature based connection. And within the context of that work, we talk sometimes about nature as co therapist. So,
Mhm.
like the environment as a entity, as its own space that can hold you. And that context can be a co therapist, can help regulate you, can help teach you something, can be a support and an ally for you. And now as we're talking right now, I'm just mapping that onto our home environments and how that can be the same thing, right? Like can our home be our co-therapist? Can our home even be sort of in a way a co-parent, right? Another space to regulate not just us, but our kids, our families. And I think yes is the answer to that. Because decluttering isn't just physical, as we've been talking about. For a long time, I thought, oh, it's just about aesthetics. It's just like, am I just this mom who wants to have this Pinterest perfect home kind of thing? And there's some judgment around that, even like, "Ugh, I don't want to be that type of person who's just concerned with kind of image and what I'm presenting." But the reality is, it's not about that, or and it's not just about that. Decluttering supports our nervous systems. It supports a clearer mind. Um, and it's important, especially for those of us who are highly sensitive, to understand that a slow process around everything, but around decluttering is what we're talking about today, isn't failure or deficiency. It helps us actually to move. It mirrors the way that we want to move through life, that we want to move through life noticing things, appreciating things, moving through life intentionally and with awareness. And I'll say one last little thing about this like integration time and what I call to my clients HSP buffer time. So, this time that we need kind of between tasks. And you and I even built that in before our call today, right? So, a time that we're not just like rushing in and going live, we're kind of checking in, we're taking some breaths, we're chit chatting. And in our homes, when we are going from one thing to another, if we can create spaces where we can buffer for a few minutes, where we can kind of take a breath and where our environment supports us and reminds us to do that, it can be such a gift.
Oh my gosh, yes. Like everything that you're saying, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. It's even with the nature-based therapy as well, because I actually went forest bathing today as well.
You did? Oh my gosh.
Nothing wrong with that, right? And I love what you said about your space can be a co-parent as well, because, the fact of the matter is like modern parenting is so full. It's like full to the max. And I know you have two kids as well. It's just like forms and commitments and like shuttling kids kids left, right, and center to their practices. And then you're just like, oh, actually, like we can create less friction when we're not scrambling and the cortisol levels are rising even more when you can't find things or when your space isn't supporting you. So I totally
Mhm.
love what you had said about the space being a co-parent. Yeah, and then also the integration time too. It's so important as HSPs. And this is also why I feel that the speed based challenges can feel like self-betrayal for HSPs because it goes against the grain. It goes against it goes backwards for like with in terms of how we want to operate in our core in our true self.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's how our culture wants us to operate, and it's how many of us have been taught to operate and maybe feel that we should, there it is again, should operate. But again and again, we run into things like nervous system burnout and overstimulation, overwhelm. And we know deep down that that approach does not work for us in life. And it also doesn't work for us in terms of managing our homes. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what works better.
Even in terms of when you're talking about culture, what the thing that comes up to my mind right away is about New Year's resolutions. And like most of the time, people are like, New Year's, let's declutter the home. And like it actually goes against like how I want to operate because I'm like, no, like it's so, and there's also the fact that New Year's resolutions fail by, I think, the second or third week
Mhm.
already give it up, right? And then it just creates more of that shame that we had been talking about too. So yeah, like what might actually work better? Decluttering as self-attunement, creating that self-awareness, not performance, which is really what the KonMari method is all about. It's gratitude based and led with joy. And so much of it is also about um, doing it in a pace that is aligned with you because we're all unique individuals. Like even in my membership as well, I have, there's like a wide range of members. Like some people have chronic illnesses too. So we make sure that it is done in a pace that honors their mind and their body so that they can feel aligned.
I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. I'm just thinking too about, like you mentioned, New Year's. And I heard someone mention this year how New Year's resolutions are so for those of us who are in tune with the seasons, which is a lot of sensitive folks, they're just completely out of whack. I mean, like January, we want to be like under a blanket on the couch with a mug of tea. Like that is not we're hibernating, right? That's not a time when we are like naturally motivated and have that get up and go. And so as we're thinking about honoring our ebbs and flows and our cycles in our own bodies and in the seasons too, I mean, it actually works out really well. We didn't plan it this way, but it works out beautifully. I think that as we're kind of approaching springtime, that this is something we're talking about a little bit more.
Yeah, we're like softening into it. And it's all about, gentle pacing, giving yourself that permission to pause. A huge part of it, because it is a mindfulness based decluttering process too. So it's noticing those body sensations. Like you feel that pride, you feel that joy, you feel that lightness, that calm, taking that moment to savor those sensations as well. And you're also able to process the more tender emotions alongside sorting. So we're not just sweeping it under the carpet or shoving it into a closet.
Yes. Yes, which again doesn't feel good for those of us who are deep processors. We want to be present to things. So I love the KonMari method that you use because it allows our bodies to lead instead of the timer or the schedule, right? And we are checking in with gratitude to how our bodies are feeling in that moment. I sometimes say to my clients, like, when things feel good, don't put up the umbrella. Like, it's not raining right now. You don't need to have that umbrella up. And I think the same thing can be true in our homes. And in fact, this is true for HSPs that we have this kind of skill called differential susceptibility, where when things are challenging, unfortunately, they do feel more challenging for sensitive nervous systems. But when things are good, we are equally um, beneficiaries of that goodness. Like we feel the goodness more than other people do. And so the same thing can be said for our homes. Like we have the research around clutter impacting cortisol levels and increasing stress for women in particular. And I'm very confident, especially for highly sensitive women. But when we have a clean or calming environment to land in, the benefit is amplified for sensitive people and for sensitive families. And so it is so important to build our motivation in a very natural, sustainable way, right? So after you maybe do a little spot of decluttering,
Mhm.
pausing and noticing, whoa, that feels really good. Or like, I feel like I can exhale, or I feel like I can actually sit down in this room rather than kind of looking around and feeling dysregulated just by entering this space. And so, yeah, we have to let our bodies notice. We have to take those pauses and let our bodies lead the way in this process.
I love that so much because, a huge part of creating that solid foundations as well is that your home will be your co-parent so that it becomes that self-soothing tool. It helps you to self-regulate. So even yesterday, like I was so dysregulated when we were trying to get our IG live working. And I messaged you, I was like, I'm gonna tidy now to regulate after dinner, and I was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna, like, tidy the kitchen up," and it totally did. I was like, "Okay," because I didn't want to, especially in, like, um, you know, nowadays, like, it's so easy to get sucked into the screens, it's like it's nonstop, and there's
Yeah.
always something to do. So this is something that I also teach my clients as well. It's like it becomes a muscle memory to be able to short circuit the hyper addictive nature of the modern world too. So
Mhm.
it's like, okay, let's do something with our hands because it also activates a different part of our brain. And a huge part of it is not just the self regulation part, but it is also you're able to attune yourself to the emotional readiness of letting go. So what we're going to be going through is really about learning what healthy letting go looks and feels like. And this is exactly why we created Decluttering Without Overwhelm for sensitive families.
Yes, absolutely. It's not a productivity boot camp. It's not
Mm.
this crazy challenge that's fast paced. It is structured support that we're going to offer you, the two of us, to a small group with nervous system pacing built in.
Yeah. Mm.
And we're going to limit it to, like I said, a small group of people. So it's going to be about 8 to 12 families just to keep things intimate, make sure you can get the personalized support that you need. And we're kicking off on March 11th. So just a couple of weeks out from now. We're going to post the link in the replay. So you have the information you need, and you can feel free to message either of us with questions or just to connect.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. And, honestly, it's like it doesn't have to be like both partners have to be on. There's going to be replays available as well. One of the questions that I got from someone who was curious was, "Oh, me and my partner can't be on live at the same time." And I was like, "Okay, one person can be on, and then you can also share and make sure that they're learning along the way as well." So it becomes something that is you're co-creating together because a huge part of the foundation is making sure that you're aligned as partners, right?
Mhm.
Messaging.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I was just at a continuing education training yesterday, and they were talking about the importance of this. We were talking about perimenopause, which is a whole other can of worms, but around the expectations that we have for partners and families, and how to gently invite in rather than coming at it from a place of rage. Actually, it was a continuing education on mom rage, and it dovetailed with perimenopause. So, lots to say about that as well. But yeah, just approaching it from a place of this isn't just like one more thing for mom to do. This
Mm.
is I love Rebecca that you came up with this title of highly sensitive families. So it's not just like for a mom. It's not like it's all on your shoulders. It is a way to cultivate conversations. It's a way to cultivate reflection within yourself and within your relationship.
Mhm.
And even if you, especially if you have children that are maybe a little bit older, um, to cultivate conversations with them about how do we feel in our home and what makes us feel good in our home, and maybe what activities we enjoy doing together in the home. And so this really is kind of a wraparound support for the entire family. And like you mentioned, Rebecca, it's okay if we'd love to have you join live for each session, of course, but we know life is busy, and so they will be recorded for participants of the workshop. So if you have to miss one, no problem. You can go back and watch it later, and we'll have some nice worksheets and actionable items to do outside of session as well.
Mhm.
But one of my favorite things about how we've designed this is that it's not just like, hey, we're going to be talking at you. I know that's kind of what we're doing today, just with the format of the live, but we're not just going to be lecturing you for, 90 minutes and then saying, bye, go have fun, do your best. We're going to be doing it with people, doing some of these practices with people in the workshop space. And so you don't have to make like a ton of extra time outside of the time that you're already setting aside. We're doing it, we're on it together.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so much more fun when we do it together as well. So that's actually how my memberships are structured as well. So look, what I found is it's the mirror neurons and the body doubling. And then people are,
Yes.
oh my gosh, I can't believe I got so much done, right? Joyful. And I love what you had mentioned about, it is an opportunity to be able to reflect as a family and really reflect on what your core values are.
Mhm.
And then through that, it's everyone is an active participant, right? Everyone has a responsibility in the family, in the home too. You actually will, especially if you do have kids, then that means that you're cultivating confidence in them. These are like core life skills too.
Absolutely. Yes, and developmentally, I mean, again, a lot of the parents that I work with, we love our kids, but sometimes we underestimate them, and they change so rapidly that sometimes it takes us a minute or two to or months to catch up with where they are developmentally. And so even like a 2-year-old can
Mhm.
have a role in decluttering the home, right? It might be small. It might be not like a net helpful thing at this moment, but you're building these habits. And so I think it's a lovely way to connect with your kids too. It's not like you're just piling more chores onto them. You're learning what they enjoy and bringing them into the fold of like family life. It's not just you having to hold and juggle everything yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's so beautiful too, just to reflect on. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to message us as well.
Yeah.
I see some in the chat. And so
Just regular.
can definitely get in touch with you as well. And I also just want to say this course isn't like, oh, only for toddlers or teenagers. Or I think if we have family, for anyone who has family, like this course will be beneficial because it is a huge part of how we relate to one another and
Mhm.
how we communicate to one another too. That's really how we create the solid foundations inside of our homes, right? So yeah, I love I honestly just love Amy's wisdom so much. Like I could just talk to her for
And we've been hopped on, short calls and then just an hour later we're still chatting. So
yeah, we'll keep this short today and then we'll have the replay up. And of course, like, just reach out to us if you do have any questions. Yeah, we'd love to be able to support you wherever you are at in your journey.
absolutely. It was so wonderful chatting with you today, Rebecca, and we hope to see some of you on Substack and maybe even in our workshop for sensitive families.
Right. Thank you so much. Take care. See you soon.